While radio artists were coming up with new forms of entertainment, photographers were looking hard times right in the eye and creating the most harrowing images of the Great Depression. Certain images immediately conjure up the Great Depression. None evoked the era more powerfully than these photos taken by government photographers to document the poverty of rural America. Among them, the most famous single image of the Depression. This is the story of how that photo was created, the photographer who created it, and how it almost didn't happen. The land had dried up, and the farms were dying. Midwestern families sometimes had no choice but to pick up and leave. Many journeyed west to California, not knowing just what they'd find. California was supposed to be paradise, perfect weather, and plenty of work. Migrants soon found out that things could be as tough in California as they'd been back in Oklahoma. In the early days of the Roosevelt administration, government agencies battled for their piece of the New Deal pie. The California State Relief Agency had been using photographs to draw attention to the plight of migrant farmers. One good photo said more than hundreds of pages in a government report. The photos that spoke the most powerfully were taken by Dorothea Lange. When new dealers in Washington figured out that what worked in California could work for them, Lange was put on the federal payroll. Lange had not begun her career taking pictures of the down and out. She was a studio photographer with a reputation for very simple portraits that captured the essence of her subjects.
Dorothea photographed the elite merchant class of San Francisco. She was a beautiful portrait photographer, just beautiful. And she immediately got what she called the cream of the trade.
The Depression's victims were right outside the window of Lange's studio.
And she looked out and she saw people with double-breasted suits, which working people didn't wear, Homburgs working people didn't have. And they were down and out and taking daily 50 cents a day laboring jobs from the city, things like that.
And the incongruity for her of the work that she was doing and the real life that was pulsating on the street below her was too much for her. And one day she said to herself, I'm going to go out and photograph this.
Lange's first attempt at photographing the Depression produced a classic image titled White Angel Breadline.
Her rich clients would look at this photograph and say, what are you going to do with that? And she didn't know. She only knew that she'd been compelled to go out and take the photograph.
The skills she developed while photographing San Francisco's wealthiest families were now put to work documenting the people the Depression had hit the hardest. To Lange, a successful photo depended on the subject's trust. That she was a woman and that she walked with a limp from childhood polio made her less intimidating to a farm family who might never have had its picture taken before.
She approached people slowly, casually, and said, I'm from the government. We are interested in where you came from and where you're going. Well, now we came from Oklahoma and we're heading for Bakersfield. That's interesting. Have you got enough gas to get? No, we don't have enough gas. We have to get work here and work there. And then she'd start photographing. By then, the photography was part of the conversation.
Lange's photos made their way into reports, magazines, and newspapers and put a human face on grim statistics.
I don't believe that anybody ever photographed the human face with greater eloquence. or understanding than my mother did. And she called the human face the universal language. Without speaking, people could tell you what was in their hearts or in their minds, just in the way that they looked at the camera.
It wasn't the depression that she photographed. She photographed the walking wounded.
Though she took nearly 4,000 photographs for the government, Lang's most famous photo almost wasn't taken. In March 1936, she had been traveling around California for a month following the migrants. She was heading home to San Francisco, feeling that she hadn't produced anything of value on her trip. It was cold and looked like rain as she passed the small town of Nipomo, about 4 hours south of San Francisco. She saw a small sign on the side of the road that read Pea Pickers Camp. She didn't stop, but gradually developed a hunch that she might be missing something important.
Never a fast driver, driving along maybe at 45, maybe 50 miles an hour. Got 20 miles up the road, and she found herself against her will, pulling off the side of the road, turning around, and going back.
When she arrived at the camp, Lang found a woman and 7 children huddled in a makeshift shack. The woman was a widow who had come from Oklahoma with the children, looking to work in the pea fields. A sudden storm had ruined the crop and left the family stranded. They were living on half-frozen peas from the fields and birds that the children managed to kill. That morning, the mother had sold the tires from her car to buy food for her children. Lang set down her tripod and began taking photographs.
Then finally the kids got tired and they jumped in behind their mother and click, click, she got it.
Lang stopped for only a few minutes. She took 6 photographs. She didn't get the woman's name, but she headed back to San Francisco feeling that she'd finally gotten some shots that made her trip worth it.
And so Dorothea, even though she hadn't seen her family for a month, she got up first thing in the morning, went down in the darkroom, proofed those photographs, made some prints, and rushed them over to the San Francisco News.
The News published the photos on March 10th. Within days, 20,000 pounds of food arrived to feed the starving farmers. Lang's photo became known simply as Migrant Mother. Its subject was eventually identified as Florence Thompson. She and her family soon found shelter in a government-run camp. Thompson remained a migrant worker for several years and lived in California for the rest of her life. She died in 1983 at the age of 80. The negative of Migrant Mother is held at the Library of Congress. Decades later, it is the single most requested photograph in the library's collection.
Dorothea had a wonderful sense of Migrant Mother. You know, she said, I see Migrant Mother reproduced in magazines all over the world or on billboards. That photograph no longer belongs to me. It now belongs out in the world.
Columbia now presents a special
Photography wasn't the only medium that faced up to harsh realities. By the end of the decade, radio would become a trusted news medium and face the rage of listeners when that trust was violated. In the early Depression years, radio was great at entertaining you, taking your mind off your troubles.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen?
By decade's end, things were getting better in America, just as the rest of the world seemed to be heading into a tailspin. Radio would bring these terrifying events right into your living room. Radio journalism got off to a rocky start.
Believe it or not, radio networks had no news departments at all until the coming of the war.
and I know it.
Special events departments covered things like political conventions, but they weren't equipped to handle breaking news. Part of the trouble came from newspapers, which fought radio news at first. Newspaper editors saw radio as a threat, stealing advertisers and turning readers into listeners. Even worse, sometimes radio newsmen stole the news itself.
In the early radio, a lot of them read from the newspaper. They just used the material in the news, assuming that was all everybody's property because it was sound.
In retaliation, some papers stopped carrying radio listings altogether. Newspapers eventually came around, especially after they figured out that people actually bought the paper to get a look at the radio listings. Real radio journalism came gradually, sometimes by accident. In 1937, radio captured the biggest news story of the year in a way no other medium could have.
It's practically standing still now. They've got rope out of the nose of the ship. The rain had slacked up a little bit. The back motors of the ship are just holding it just enough to keep it from... It bursts into flames. Get it started, get it started. It's crashing. It's crashing terrible. Oh my, get out of the way, please. It's bursting into flames and it's falling on the mooring mast and all the folks between us. This is terrible. This is one of the worst catastrophes in the world.
Radio made the Hindenburg tragedy horribly real for millions of listeners, but the broadcast had happened almost totally by chance. A true test of radio's ability to bring history-making events into America's living rooms came on March 13th, 1938. Hitler's troops stormed into Austria.
Right at this moment, Austria is no longer a nation, but is now officially a part of the German Empire. Austria and Germany are being welded together under one command, one army, one policy, one economic compact.
CBS Radio was best equipped to cover the crisis. The network had placed correspondents in all the major European capitals, knowing that war was on the way. New technology allowed the network to bring live reports from Europe on very short notice. When Austria fell, the network saw an opportunity to do something unprecedented.
Paul White, who was the director of special events at CBS, he got the idea of taking a half hour and putting a lot of them together for one program. This is Bob Trout. Columbia now presents a special broadcast which will include pickups direct from London, from Paris, and such other European capitals as at this late hour abroad have communication channels available.
No one had ever brought together late-breaking reports from thousands of miles away directly into American homes as they were happening.
It is a little hard, perhaps, for the present-day listener to understand the extent of that involvement and excitement and how magical and rewarding it was to listen to voices coming from these areas.
This is Edward Murrow speaking from Vienna. It's now nearly 2:30 in the morning, and Herr Hitler has not yet arrived. No one seems to know just when he will get here, but most people expect him sometime after 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. The crowds are courteous, as they've always been. But many people are in holiday mood. They lift the right arm a little higher here than in Berlin.
Over the next few months, the European situation worsened. Through the Munich crisis in September and the succeeding political chaos, listeners got used to late-breaking reports interrupting their favorite shows. There was a monster on the rampage in Europe, and radio was bringing the almost unbelievable news of his conquests into American homes. On October 30th, 1938, people listening to CBS heard a bulletin that announced the arrival of a monster on American soil.
Now, nearer home, comes a special bulletin from Trenton, New Jersey. It is reported that at 8:50 p.m., a huge flaming object, believed to be a meteorite, fell on a farm in the neighborhood of Grover's Mill, New Jersey, 22 miles from Trenton. The flash in the sky was visible within a radius of several hundred miles, and the noise of the impact was heard as far north as Elizabeth. We have dispatched a special mobile unit to the scene.
Smart listeners should have known that this wasn't just another bulletin. Sprinkled throughout were references to fictional places, people, and events. But people weren't listening for details.
Wait a minute, something's happening. Humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a mirror. What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from that mirror, and it leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on. Lord, they're turning into flames. The whole field's caught up by the woods.
Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars.
The widespread panic that followed that broadcast, the Mercury Theater's production of H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds, has passed into legend.
It came right after the Munich crisis, about that time, when we sat at a radio for days wondering what was going to happen. It was a period of great tension, and I think it had a lot to do with it.
It's quiet.
The show's creator, Orson Welles, faced a horde of angry reporters the following afternoon.
Of course, you're deeply shocked and deeply regretful about the results of last night's broadcast. And it came rather as a great surprise to us that a story, the fine H.G. Wells classic fantasy, the original for so many succeeding comic strips and adventure stories and novels, about a mythical invasion by monsters from the planet Mars, should have had so profound an effect upon radio listeners.
But never thought it was anything but funny. There are pictures of me made about 3 hours afterwards, looking as much as I could like an early Christian saint. I didn't know what I was doing, but I'm afraid that I'm not as hypocritical as anybody could possibly get.
One doesn't believe in the radio audience much. You don't know that whether they're listening or not. You have no idea how many people are listening or what they're thinking. I had every hope that...
I had friends who, ran out. One of my favorites was Jack Barrymore, who had a kennel of Great Dane dogs. And when he heard it, he went out and undid all the kennels and said, "Fend for yourselves."
The irony of the press outcry against the show was not lost on its creator.
The hue and cry was from the newspapers who'd been losing all their advertising to radio, of course.
It was more than just the outrage of newspapers, though. People had come to place faith in this new kind of journalism. When Orson Welles took advantage of that faith, listeners took it very personally.
Radio is new, and we are learning about the effect it has on people. Learned a terrible lesson.
Just as radio's power was reaching its height, a small band of technicians was getting started on a new medium that would pull together a little Hollywood, a little radio, and a little vaudeville. Within a year of the War of the Worlds broadcast, it would make its debut, and eventually change American life in ways that no one could have imagined.